Hello students, welcome to the English class. We are seeing the lesson The Gift of the Magi. Today we will see the third part. We will see some new words. Mammoth. Used as an adjective, it will be huge or extremely large. But mammoth as a noun means a large extinct elephant. If you have seen the movie, animated movie Ice Age, the animal in that movie, the huge elephant, that is the mammoth, okay, which is extinct now. Now we only have the regular elephants, which are much smaller compared to this mammoth. So mammoth is usually used as an adjective when you want to refer to something big or difficult, okay. So next word is curling iron, an instrument used to curl hair. So now it will be hair curlers or any other word, but in those days, see how the straight hair of a lady is curled using this machine. Can you see the machine in her hand? Here you can see it here. This is called curling irons. These were used in the olden days. So the next word is quail. Quail is a small bird. It is like a hen. Manger, an open box from which cattle and horses feed. See, this is a box. Usually it will be a box, but it will be a long line also, from which cattle, sheep, even pigs, whatever, all the farm animals come and have their food. But when Jesus Christ was born, Mary, his mother, placed Jesus in this manger because they didn't have any other place. That is why now this manger itself became more famous because of Jesus Christ. Can you see here the same kind of manger? Here it is here, okay. It's called manger. Babe in a manger means Jesus Christ, in the baby Jesus lying down in a manger. Now we'll continue with the story. So in the last class we saw that she has very little money, so she goes, she sells her beautiful long cascade brown hair. Why did she do that? Because she wanted to buy a gift for her beloved husband Jim, because it was Christmas Eve. So now we'll see what happens. She got out her curling irons and lighted the gas and went to work repairing the ravages made by generosity added to love. So here, see, can you see the same handles which she is using to curl her hairs? Now her hair has been cut short. It has become very short. So it was to repair the ravages. So it doesn't look very nice. So to repair it, to just make it little okay, she used those curling irons to make it a little curly and look little presentable. Okay. Made by generosity. The ravages or the damage caused, ravage means damage caused by generosity, means because she is so generous, she so much she loves, so she has generously given her hair, isn't it? Which is always a tremendous task, dear friends, a mammoth task. See here how mammoth is used. Mammoth task means huge task. What is mammoth task here? To curl and to repair everything and make it beautiful. Within 40 minutes her head was covered with tiny close-lying curls that made her look wonderfully like a truant schoolboy. So now she looks more like a little young silly or mischievous schoolboy, okay, because of her different kind of curly haircut. So how long did it take? It took 40 minutes. She looked at her reflection in the mirror long, carefully and critically. So now she is looking in the mirror. Then she is saying, if Jim doesn't kill me, she said to herself, before he takes a second look at me, he'll say I look like a Coney Island chorus girl. So if he looks at me and he doesn't get angry, then he will say I look like a Coney Island is a singing troupe. So he would say that I look like one of those girls. What could I do? Oh, what could I do with $1.87? So she's telling what else could I do with so little money? I had to sell it. She's just talking to herself. At 7 o'clock the coffee was made and the frying pan was on the back of the stove, hot and ready to cook the chops. Now she's preparing dinner. Jim was never late. Della doubled the fob chain in her hand and sat on the corner of the table near the door that he always entered. Now she's just doubled the chain, means she's having it in her hand and she's just doing like this. Okay, she just has it in her hand ready to give it to him, and she is waiting for him near the door. And here one character of Jim is told that he is never late, he is always punctual. Then she heard his step on the stairway down on the first flight. First flight means first floor. And she turned white for just a moment. White means she is little scared. She could hear his footsteps. She had a habit of saying little silent prayers about the simplest everyday things. And now she whispered, "Please God, make him think I am still pretty." Now she is worried that Jim will not like her new hairstyle. So she is telling God, please make him think I am still pretty, because all these days her beautiful hair was her real ornament. So now she wants Jim to like her without her beautiful hair also. Now she is praying that Jim will like it. The door opened and Jim stepped in and closed it. So now Jim walks in. He looked thin and very serious. Poor fellow, he was only 22. He's only 22 years old, so young, and to be burdened with a family. He needed a new overcoat and he was without gloves. Why gloves are being mentioned? Because it is a very cold place, and during Christmas usually there is snow and it's very cold in the west. So without gloves means only very poor people will be without gloves. So gloves are very important, especially in winter. Jim stopped inside the door as immovable as a setter at the scent of quail. See, this setter is a dog. Okay. So people for hunting quails they would go and hunt these birds for eating, just like we eat chicken, no? Like that quails were eaten. But to catch quails they would use the setter dogs. So dogs have amazing sense of smell or scent. So as soon as a setter dog finds or spots a quail, how will it stop? It is just stop and it will move very, very slowly. So just like that, he is just the author is comparing Jim to that setter dog. Okay, so Jim is shocked and he just stood there. His eyes were fixed upon Della, and there was an expression in them that she could not read, and it terrified her. Now see, she was preparing herself that if he gets angry, what to say and everything. If he is not angry, what he would say, she is prepared. But now this Jim's expression is not understandable by Della. She can't even make out what he's feeling, what he's thinking, and that made her terrified. Now she's more scared now. It was not anger, nor surprise, nor disapproval, nor horror, nor any of the sentiments that she had been prepared for. So she had prepared for so many sentiments, so many emotions, but this expression which Jim is giving doesn't fit into any of those categories. He simply stared at her fixedly with that peculiar expression on her face. He's just standing still there. Okay. Della wriggled off the table and went for him. "Jim, darling," she cried, "don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without giving you a present. It'll grow out again. You won't mind, will you? I just had to do it. My hair grows awfully fast. Say Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a nice what a beautiful, nice gift I have got for you. Now she's trying to calm him down. First of all, she doesn't know what's going on in his mind. So she's telling, okay Jim, it's okay. I just cut my hair to buy a gift for you. So don't be angry. Anyway, my hair will grow very fast. So now let's wish each other Merry Christmas. So now Jim says, you've cut off your hair? Asked Jim laboriously, as if he had not arrived at that patent fact yet, even after the hardest mental labor. Now Jim is talking, he could not even, he was like in a shock. Now he's asking again, have you cut off your hair? He's still shocked. Okay. Now, cut it off and sold it, said Della. Don't you like me just as well anyhow? I am me without my hair, ain't I? So now Della is trying to comfort him. He's telling, whether with or without hair, I am me, isn't it? Don't you like me? Jim looked about the room curiously. You say your hair is gone? He said, with an air almost of idiocy. Like one idiocy means like one stupidly, he's asking one stupid question. He's just looking out into the room and asking, you mean it's gone? Really gone? You needn't look for it. So Della is telling, don't search for the hair anywhere here. It is sold. I told you, sold and gone too. It's Christmas Eve, boy. Be good to me, for it went for you. Maybe the hairs on my head were numbered. This is also another joke she's telling. You know, in Bible there's one saying that the hair on your head is numbered. That means God even knows each and every strand of hair on your head. That is how much God will protect you. So she is telling, even my hair were numbered, so they are gone. So forget it. She's trying to cheer him up. Okay. She went on with sudden serious sweetness, but nobody could ever count my love for you. Shall I put the chops on, Jim? Now she's telling, whatever I am, with hair or without my long hair, nobody can understand or even count how much I love you. That is more important. She wants to stress that point. Now she is changing the topic. She's telling, come, shall we have dinner? Shall I put on the chops? Out of his trance, Jim seemed quickly to wake. Now, trance means like in a shock, like in a standstill state. Now he is waking up from that shock. Then he enfolded means hugged Della. For 10 seconds, let us regard with discreet scrutiny some inconsequential object in the other direction. Now the author is telling, for 10 seconds, let's move away from this story and go in another direction. $8 a week or $1 million a year. What's the difference? So now the author is asking us, $8 a week. That is the rent of the house, isn't it? Or $1 million a year. 8 or million. What's the difference? Everybody knows, right? A mathematician or a wit would give you the wrong answer. Now he is telling, whether a mathematician or a very intelligent person, they will give the wrong answer. What answer would they give? Which is better? $1 million is big, isn't it, compared to $8. But author is telling, still that $1 million, if anybody gave that answer, it would be wrong. Why would it be wrong? The Magi brought valuable gifts, but that was not among them. Now the Magi are the people, in Bible, when baby Jesus was born, 3 wise men, they came from the east. They are considered as wise men, and also maybe they were kings also. So those 3 kings, they brought very valuable gifts for Jesus Christ when he was born. So now the author is comparing Jim and Della to these Magi. So these Magi brought gifts for Jesus Christ. Okay, because Christmas is celebrated. Why is Christmas celebrated? Christmas is nothing but the birthday of Jesus Christ. So the Magi's gifts are compared to here Jim's gift and Della's gift. So he is telling which is, but even these two gifts are not more valuable. That means they are less valuable compared to Jim's and Della's gift. This dark assertion will be illuminated later on. So now he's telling, okay, this I will tell you later. Again, we'll come back to that point later. Jim drew a package out from his overcoat pocket and threw it upon the table. Don't make any mistake, Dell, he said, about me. I don't think there's anything in the way of a haircut or a shave or a shampoo that could make make me like my girl any less. But if you'll unwrap that package, you may see why you had me going a while at first. Now he's telling, now whatever it is, whether you with haircut or shave, or even if you shave off your hair or shampoo, anything, it doesn't matter. Or none of these will affect my love for my girl, my wife Della. That means my love for you doesn't depend on your appearance. But if you just open the gift which I bought you, then you'll understand why I was like this, why I acted crazy. White fingers and nimble tore at the string and paper, and then an ecstatic stream of joy, and then, alas, a quick feminine change to hysterical tears and wails, necessitating the immediate employment of all the comforting powers of the lord of the flat. I know this is a little difficult English for you all because they are all huge sentences. So now she tore open the gift which Jim had bought for her. First she looked, ecstatic stream of joy. That means she's so happy, she's screaming in joy. Then suddenly, with all quick feminine change, suddenly she's changing it into hysterical tears and wails. Little bit of crying. Wails means crying very loudly by making a crying sound. Now from joy, suddenly she is screaming and she is crying and crying. So much that necessitating means it required the lord of the flat. Who is the lord of the flat here? Jim. Lord of the flat means the owner of that flat. So it required Jim to go and comfort her. She was crying so much after looking at the gift. So what is that gift which made her cry so much? For there lay the combs, the set of combs, side and back, that Della had worshipped for long in a Broadway window. Beautiful combs, pure tortoise shell with jeweled rims. Just the shade to wear in the beautiful vanished hair. They were expensive combs, she knew, and her heart had simply craved and yearned over them without the least hope of possession. So, what was in that gift? Comb set. It was made of tortoise shell. So, these are, see, can you see here? These are combs, more like a clip. Okay, they will just clip on like this in the hair, not like the regular combs which we used to comb our hair. So, these are made from tortoise shells. But these are very expensive. So for a long time, Broadway window means like maybe like a mall in the current situation, in the present day world, like that, in huge shops. She knew very well that she could never buy them because they were so expensive. So she would stand at the window and admire them, and without the least hope of possession. That means she knew very well that she would never have them. So she would just admire and admire that comb. But now she has them in her hands. So she's crying. And now they were hers. But the tresses means hair, that should have adorned the coveted adornments were gone. Now she has the comb, but she doesn't have the hair to wear them with. But she hugged them to her bosom, and at length she was able to look up with dim eyes and a smile and say, "My hair grows fast, so fast, Jim." And then Della leaped up like a little singed cat and cried, "Oh, oh." Now she's, bosom means chest, so she's holding the gift to her chest and she's she's telling Jim, "My hair will grow very fast, you know." Oh, oh, again she's crying. Jim had not yet seen his beautiful present. She held it out to him eagerly upon her open palm. The dull precious metal seemed to flash with the reflection of her bright and ardent spirit, Isn't it a dandy, Jim? I hunted all over town to find it. You'll have a look at it. You'll have to look at the time 100 times a day now. Give me a watch. I want to see how it looks on it. Now it is her time. She is presenting the gift to Jim. She gave the fob chain and she's telling, nowadays you have to look at time very often. So give me a watch. I will fix this fob chain to it. Instead of obeying, Jim tumbled down on the couch and put his hand under the back of his head and smiled. Dell, said he, let's put our Christmas presents away and keep them a while. They are too nice to use just at present. I sold the watch to get the money to buy your combs. And now suppose you put the chops on. Now what is he doing? He sat down on the chair. Couch is the sofa. Couch means sofa. He's telling Dell, let's just put both our Christmas presents away because now both of us can't use it. She can't use the comb and he can't use his fob chain. So now she is confused. Now he's telling, okay, just keep it aside. Come, put the chops means come, we'll have our dinner. The Magi, as you know, were, so now why? Because he sold his watch to buy those. Okay. The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men who brought gifts to the babe in the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. So this is the first Christmas present ever was the gifts from the Magi. See here, these three wise men, they brought presents here, can you see, to baby Jesus. Okay, so they are the ones who invented this art of giving gifts. Being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in case of duplication. So now the author is telling, see, they are already rich and they are wise. Okay, so now they brought gifts even though there was duplication. That means if among these three, if the gifts were same, duplication means being same. If there was some case of duplication, we can exchange it with something else. Okay, they had that privilege. And here I have lamely related to you the uneventful chronicle of two foolish children in a flat who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures of their house. So these two foolish children, could they exchange their gifts? No. Can Della give back her gift and get back her hair? No. Can Jim do the same thing? No, they can't exchange it, right? So he is referring to them as two foolish children in a flat, unwisely sacrificed. That means it is not such a wise thing to do. They sacrificed their most precious possessions. But in a last word to the wise of these days, let it be said that of all who give gifts, these two were the wisest. So even though they can be considered as unwise children, among all the gifts in the world, even the Magi's gifts, compared to all of them, these two gifts, the gifts of Della and the gifts of Jim, are the wisest of all. Of all who give and receive gifts, such as they are wisest. Everywhere they are wisest. They are the Magi. So these are the Magi. These two are the Magi, they are telling, because they gave so unselfishly. They showed more love for each other. So that is the most important thing. This is the story of the gift of the Magi. Hope you all liked it. Wasn't it a wonderful story? It shows how much you love. So love is more important. Love for the spouse, love for your parents, love for your children, your siblings. That is what counts. Not what you give, but the heart which gives. That is more important. Okay. See you all in the next class. Bye-bye.